Monaco, a mix of Mediterranean beauty, extreme wealth and elite glamour, this tiny sovereign city-state on the French Riviera offers tax haven advantages, legendary high-profile events such as the Grand Prix, and top-tier security that attract the global elite. A short train journey from Nice, where we base ourselves when working in Monaco, this is the place where superyachts fill Port Hercule, high-end hypercars crowd the streets, and luxury designer boutiques define daily life. Today, my colleague Harry joins me here to talk about our case reuniting a daughter with her biological father and the fingerprinting executives for a regulatory license. Did you know that Frederick Aberline, the Jack the Ripper detective, you can hear about him on Detective Diaries, worked in the casinos here for the world-famous Pinkerton Detective Agency? Hear the full story and, of course, like, save and leave a comment on Detective Diaries.
Welcome to Detective Diaries, brought to you by Private Detective and Search Investigation. If you are captivated by the art of deduction, the thrill of solving the unsolvable, or the enigmatic world of private investigation, you have just found your new favorite podcast. Detective Diaries are where secrets are unraveled and the truth is always a clue away. Presented by Private Detective and Search Investigation, each episode contains offbeat conversations about the real people involved in investigation. Enjoy.
I'm broadcasting from one of the best broadcast studios I think I've ever seen. Essentially, I am sat outside under a clear blue sky by the water in the Principality of Monaco. You may hear some background noise, principally because we're sat beside the famous Monaco Grand Prix track, which also, of course, is a public road when it's not being used to hear vehicles around at heaven knows what sort of speed. Also, being the day after the historic Grand Prix, not to be confused with the Monaco Grand Prix, they're also dismantling a lot of the seating that's erected. Quite a formidable sight. I'll get Harry to describe in a minute what he's been doing today, and I'll talk about what we are doing tomorrow, and also a couple of Monaco stories. One very associated with the local football team and Russian billionaires, and the other, an old friend of ours, if you've listened to this podcast, Frederick Aberline, who was the Jack the Ripper detective, and unbelievably, there's a connection to him here as well. Harry, over to you.
Yes, good to see you, and it is a wonderful day, as you say. I've actually been here visiting a couple of clients. One is a major bank with multiple locations dotted around the world. The other actually is involved in an acquisition of another major firm, and they require fingerprinting needs. Now, you may have heard us mention on previous episodes about how we conduct fingerprints for many civil and regulatory reasons. Well, a lot of times companies do not have the time, or perhaps their directors and the important people at the top of the chain do not have the time to get this process done. There might not even be the resources or the capacity to have it done in their home residence. So that's why I'm here. I've visited a couple of clients today, conducted a lot of fingerprinting, getting all the regulatory forms signed off, and we'll be applying for certain applications on their behalf when we're back in the UK.
When you say regulations or regulatory compliance, what are you talking about and referring to?
Yes, so a lot of times we're assisting clients with obtaining police clearances. However, there are other needs other than just getting that clearance. In this case, one of the clients, unfortunately, I'm not going to mention for confidentiality reasons. The other I can quite happily talk about. A lot of it comes into licenses. Now, these companies operate internationally, as we all know, but when they perhaps acquire or obtain either new enterprises or new staff that have to work within the confines of different countries, there are regulations which kick in. Gambling licenses is a common one, liquor licenses is another common one, and then the financial sector as a whole. A lot of times you need brokerage licenses. These people need to have the ability to work in both countries, and therefore that's where we come in to get those fingerprints, and more importantly sometimes make sure those forms are correct. It is a bit of a web getting through those regulations. Well, I could sit here for hours and hours and probably bore the pants off you with all the elements of compliance, but what I understand, we're going to be in Nice tomorrow.
That's a Ferrari.
That is a Ferrari.
Okay. That was a cool interruption. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I was saying I would bore the pants off you if we sat here and discussed regulation all day. I hear we're off to Nice tomorrow to do a little bit of investigatory work.
Oh yeah, well, Nice and Monaco, they're not bang next door, but they're very close together. In fact, it's only about 5 stops and the train takes about half an hour. It's actually one of my favourite railway journeys because it goes past a place called Beaubasmer, which, if anybody has ever seen the film, or I think it was a stage production of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, was the inspiration for the fictitious location there. But anyway, that's nothing to do with anything very much. Nice, yeah, clients, quick racing. Long time ago, was associated with somebody, had a relationship with them, had a child. Things changed. He was in the army. He ended up going off and living in West Africa for a while, but then came back into France. And our client would like to find him for the sake of her daughter,
Right.
who's obviously got a thing about knowing where they are from. She, of course, at the age that she now is, as an adult, would like to know her roots and her heritage, and possibly as to whether there is any way she could meet her biological father. Now, we've run a lot of data traces in France. He hasn't come up. Those have been extended to other European countries, to Spain, to Italy, to Germany and so forth, still producing no result. So it's a matter of coming back to basic find the lead. Now, there's various people who we have identified, fairly sure that they are family members, not sure in what connection, because we're talking about quite a few decades. One of them tracked down to an address in Nice. Now, it's a little bit hit and miss because we don't know what we're about to walk into, but being able to go and see her, she's French, from everything that we can gather, being able to see her and see if we can get a lead on what his whereabouts may be now.
And this is it. It goes to a lot of our work where at the end of the day, you've got to ask questions, right? You've got to do the door knocks. You've got to...
A lot of people think the tracing work. I remember when I was talking about this on podcast.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that tracing work's a question of dashing something in a computer and the magic answer is going to come out. Well, yes, it is sometimes. And very often that is the case. And data can be very good and we're very good at unearthing it. Sometimes it just ends up being a physical exercise. Like you say, going and talking to people, asking questions, getting a lead, follow the lead about. I mean, in this instance, there's another couple of avenues. One of them is, I think, in Strasbourg. The other one is in Avignon. But we were here anyway. So it seemed sensible to try and mix the two up, keeps costs down for the client apart from anything else.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of the times when we are in whichever countries we may find ourselves in, you know, doubling up, maximising our time out here is something we do quite often. I mean, I remember a few years ago we were in I think we were in the Canary Islands and we had 3 different cases running over 3 weeks. It was a case a week, essentially.
Yeah, that's the same in Morocco, in Agadir. It's sensible. Well, if we've got an inquiry about the same location, we'll always get in touch with somebody and say, oh, this is happening. It will cut costs down for the first client and cut costs down for the second client. Yeah, it's not the cheapest thing to do, but if you need the answer or the solution to a problem, it's a means of getting there.
Excellent. So we've got some physical info tomorrow. Now, at the start of all of this, you were mentioning stories about Monaco.
Oh yeah, you see that building over there?
I do indeed.
See the top of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a $200 million penthouse that belongs to a chap named Dmitry Bolovlev, who any football fan worth his salt will know owns most of Monaco FC. Yeah, story starts, and I have to say before I say anything, all of what I'm about to say is on public record. It's either being reported, so you know, please don't accuse us of slander or libel. It all starts with a case that our friend Dimitri had against an art dealer whom he'd accused of essentially defrauding him.
Okay.
Now his lawyer, Tatiana Besheda, recorded this third-party person, and delivered the audio to the Monaco Police Service.
Right.
Whereupon they launched a criminal investigation against the art dealer. However, the art dealer then filed a complaint accusing Mrs. Becheda, who's a Swiss lawyer, I believe, of having committed a criminal offence for violating another person's privacy, which contravenes one of the articles of the Monegasque Criminal Code.
Okay, so a lot of infighting already.
The complaint was looked at by the European Court of Human Rights because the investigating judge, who was a chap named Edouard Leroux, ordered a forensic data examination of the phone, which, according to the ECHR, went far beyond the initial scope. A quotation from the ECHR reads, "A vast telecommunications report from a court-appointed expert with no real limits as to dates or scope of inquiry." Not going well for the lawyer so far, especially when in 2018 the findings were then used to accuse Dmitry Rybolovlev and other influential figures in Monaco of corruption and influence peddling.
Wow, okay. Well, so the stakes are significantly rising there, especially someone who owns Monaco FC.
Yeah, I mean, that report was the thing that started it all and started a long-running saga for our businessman. Dmitry Rybolovlev is a Russian billionaire businessman. He's an investor. He's also a philanthropist who made his fortune in the fertilizer industry. He's known to most as the owner of AS Monaco FC, and also for his background and his growing fortune. Interestingly, some 30 years ago, he suffered the fate of quite a few Russian oligarchs, and that he was arrested in 1996 following the murder of a chap named Evgeny Pantaleonov, a business partner in the potash producer Uralkali, which was Dimitri's company. He was accused of ordering the hit, but claimed he was framed. He spent 11 months in a Russian jail before he was released, and in 1997 he was acquitted. His net worth, by best estimates, is about $6 or $7 billion.
Wow.
So I think that penthouse is probably small change. I mean, his daughter bought a Greek island.
Wow.
Obviously as part of the family name.
So, what was the case really about then?
2018, the report at the time involved a Swiss art dealer from whom Mr. Rybolovlev bought a series of masterpieces, triggering a very long-running and separate legal battle. The investigation in 2018 centred on claims that Mr. Rybolovlev tried to influence senior Monaco officials, including Monaco's former justice minister. Under Monaco's criminal system, which is kind of like the one in France, the suspect is placed under investigation by a magistrate who then determines whether there is sufficient evidence to hold a trial.
Right.
Both Mr. Rybolovlev and the former Mr. denied any wrongdoing. None of the accused were held in custody after initial interviews. The dispute involved Swiss art dealer Yves Bouvier, who was accused by Rybolovlev of defrauding him of around about $1 billion. He purchased around 38 works of art from Monsieur Bouvier over the course of a decade, and claimed that the prices were deliberately overinflated, something that Monsieur Bouvier denied was the case. One of those paintings is the Salvator Mundi, which was believed to be by Leonardo da Vinci, just to give you an idea and a flavour of what we're talking about. I mean, I think a few years ago it was the most expensive painting that had ever been sold. French reports said that the Russian tycoon's lawyer handed prosecutors a phone recording, which we've already talked about, as part of the case against Monsieur Bouvier, but when investigators looked at text messages on her phone, they discovered material that allegedly revealed compromising material on a much larger scale. The whole scandal eventually led to the resignation and the arrest of the former Justice Minister, Philippe Nomino. What became known as Monaco Gate, and it erupted when the French newspaper Le Monde revealed the content of the text messages, the ones that were exchanged between the participants of the dispute. These allegedly showed Rybolov's efforts to influence the course of justice and to get Bouvier arrested. In the case, the billionaire was accused of offering Nomino and his wife a vacation in his Gstaad residence with all expenses paid, including gifts, fine dinners. None have paid 100,000 euros to the former Justice Minister's son. He was also accused of providing helicopter trips in his private helicopter to his house in Switzerland for senior members of the Monaco police. So, massive controversy.
Yes.
The whole investigation and the legal saga went on for quite a few more years. However, in 2025, Dmitry Rybolov's and Tetiana Besheda were both cleared of all charges, and in the words of the Monaco court, they are totally and definitely cleared.
Wow. That
brought one of the most significant chapters in the Principalities' judicial history to an end and a conclusion.
Do you know what I find interesting about that story is how you said it started from that recording from the phone,
yes,
and then explodes out once you get underneath and look at the device itself. It's very common in a lot of what we do when we get the mobile forensics. You see 5% of it, you look at the entire phone, and bang, there it all is.
And everything else comes out. I mean, this is what the lawyer, Vivier, really missed. You know, she was using that to get evidence against Bouvier, and the whole thing backfired.
It's very interesting. Well, it's got to beg the question, hasn't it? I mean, how much money is really floating through Monaco?
I have no idea, but you only have to look at some of the yachts out there to get an idea and an estimation of that. You know, whether it's legitimate, I don't know. Yes, of course it is. I mean, banks in Monaco are the most respected in the world. Having said that, the European Commission is moving to add the Principality to its list of high-risk status. Its list of high-risk states.
So an interesting present and possible future for Monaco. But you mentioned Frederick Aberline. Take us back into the past.
Oh, I love Frederick Aberline, and I have to link this because when you finish listening to this episode, go and look up the ones about Frederick Aberline. I mean, he's amazing, fascinating detective from Victorian times. Okay. If anybody knows about Frederick Aberline, Jack the Ripper detective, went on phenomenal career with the Metropolitan Police at the time, and he retired, I think it was in 1892. Around about that time, Monte Carlo, which is a lot of people will know as an administrative district of Monaco. Monte Carlo is in Monaco.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a hotspot for wealthy travellers, for aristocrats, and also international criminals, who, therefore, the area and the casinos required professional private security. Those, as I say, who listen to this series will have heard our podcasts on Frederick Aberline, the Jack the Ripper detective. When Aberline retired from the Metropolitan Police, he was employed by the Pinkerton Detective Agency, specifically by their London office, to look out for cheating customers and handle security in the luxury gaming venues of Monte Carlo. So yes, Aberline was here.
Brilliant. Well, speaking of casinos and gambling institutions, I think we better get out of here before we end up losing all of our money.
I am not going to the casino.
Well, thank you for those stories. Actually, it's really lovely to hear. And there is such a small world. There is always going to be the connections. Quite fascinating hearing about Frederick's time here. How long was he actually here for?
12 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
Until he finally fully retired. I think that was in 1904.
Right.
Whereupon he went to live in Bournemouth. And I went to his house.
Yeah. So a bit of a change from Monaco to Bournemouth.
Yeah, especially in those days. I do wonder, because where and when did he learn French? I don't know.
Do you know, the way you're telling those stories is really giving me the buck, actually, to go look into all the historical detectives that we deal with.
No, it's easy. I mean, nothing is new. We just think it is.
Yeah.
Loads of the investigative work that we do now has got its roots in what happened 100, 150 years ago.
Yeah, completely. Well, as I say, hearing those snippets, you should really go and listen to those Frederick Aberline cases and hear more of the historical deep dives that I'm sure you're going to be getting into in the months to come.
Well, thank you for the plug. Go and listen.
Well, this has been wonderful, but do you know what I'm going to go do?
Go on, tell me.
I'm going to go find that Ferrari.
See you next time. History remembers him in the shadows of Whitechapel, but the real Frederick Aberline was more than a ripper hunter. He was a man of 84 commendations, a meticulous detective who colleagues said looked more like a bank manager than a street-hardened copper. In part 2 of our podcast on the life of Aberline, we follow him through the scandals that broke his faith in the system, from the Cleveland Street male brothel inquiry to the high-stakes Turkish bond robbery. Disillusioned by cover-ups involving the British aristocracy, Aberline walked away from Scotland Yard, only to become the European agent for the legendary Pinkerton National Detective Agency. From hunting gambling cheats in Monte Carlo to his eventual retreat to the seaside area of Bournemouth, we explore his later years at Escort on Holdenhurst Road. But even in retirement, the ghosts of 1888 remained. Join us as we close the casebook on a Victorian legend, Detective Diaries, Frederick Aberline, Part 2. Listen now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Get involved! Detective Diaries is interactive, which involves you, the listener. Do you have a case you'd like discussed? A burning question about investigative life? Send an email to podcast@private-detectives.co.uk or reach out via social media. You may hear your story featured in an upcoming episode. Don't forget to leave your contact details. The email address is in the show notes.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast, brought to you by Answers Investigation and UK Fingerprint. If you've enjoyed our conversation and want to learn more about the fascinating world of investigations, be sure to check out Private Detectives Answers Investigation. Their experienced team offers a wide range of discreet and professional services, helping you find the answers you need with integrity and expertise. If you're interested in fingerprint analysis or require specialist fingerprint services, don't miss UK Fingerprint. As one of the leading fingerprint companies in the UK, they provide everything from identification to background checks, working with individuals, businesses, financial institutions, and gambling companies. To find out more, visit www.private-detectives.co.uk, that's a minus sign, and www.ukfingerprint.co.uk. These are your go-to resources for investigative solutions and fingerprint expertise. You can call their office on 020 7158 0332. Thanks once again for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and keep seeking the truth.